Let's start by a prayer, and Father and Son and Holy Ghost, Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord with thee, blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Hail Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and the hour of our death. Amen. Father and Son and Holy Ghost, Amen. Good afternoon. This is the afternoon, and so this is Saturday in the Passion Week. So it means tomorrow it's going to be the second Passion Sunday, which is Palm Sunday. Of course, we are in this time where we cannot be all together because of this health crisis that the world is facing today. But this is very important for us to be united, and so now we have had this masses live streamed, and I think this is a good opportunity for us to be united, even if through technology. But it is important to be, but in some ways, in touch. I hope that you're all doing great, and I know that unless surprises, none of you is sick by this disease or any other disease. So this is important. The first thing is, of course, so the current situation in which we are now is unprecedented. We can say that. I'm not talking about the sanitary options that have been made or how they deal with the situation, the church or the government around the globe, but it's unprecedented because we have not known this situation in our years. So, but we have to remember that to be deprived from Mass happened in a church history. It is not the first time that church asked us to stay home because of great matters. We have to remember that for the 2000 some years of the church since the church exists, it happened throughout the history that it happened to have war, and so bishops said, "Do not go and at the church because it is not prudent." It happened also that pandemics were going on in some countries, and people were not able to go to Mass. So it happened that in Europe, maybe not in the US, so that's why it's not known in the US. But so US is a young country, 200 and some years, 30 years. But in Europe, so where I grew up, we learned this kind of things. Even me, I am French, and I know that the Pope put an interdict on French church for something about a year. What does it mean? It means the Pope took a decision because the King of France was against the Pope, against the papacy, against the church, and he was supposed to be a Catholic, a follower of the church. He did not respect what the Pope was asking, and the Pope put an interdict on France. What does it mean? It means that no sacraments can be given in France for an extended time. It was not for a week, it was not for a month, it was for more time than that. So it means the Pope took that decision even if he knew that most of his people, maybe 95% of people going to Mass, were totally innocent. But he took that decision. It was a serious decision. So the Pope took that decision because he wanted to shake the boat. He wanted to provoke the reactions of Catholics, how they are going to react to um, the impossibility for them to receive sacraments. It means you cannot go to confession, you cannot attend Mass, you cannot receive Holy Communion, you cannot even receive Last Rites. So that was very important and very serious that the Pope took that decision. Of course, nowadays we are not in that time. So that was in the 14th century. But so then, in the 17th century, in the 18th century, we have had times where the bishops took decisions to say, do not come to Mass anymore. You may find also a story that happened in the north part of Italy, I believe it was in the 17th century, that there were a plague in that whole region and people were dying. And the bishop celebrated with his clergy the Holy Week. And at the door of the cathedral, Catholics were trying to break in, and they did actually. And so the bishop had to call the army who came to protect the church. He was not expected to have such a reaction, but so we can understand the reaction. So nowadays we are not in that same situation. So first of all, I would like to say that we have to take it as an opportunity for us to be closer to God, because, okay, you know, for every time I'm not hungry for meat every single day. You know, in my diet, I don't eat meat every day. But most of the time where I want to eat meat is on Fridays, because you know that you cannot have meat. The rest of the week you can have meat if you want, but not on Fridays. And then you feel that thing, you know. And so the first reaction you have is you want to have it. You're craving for it so badly that it is very bad, and so that can, you know, push you to not to sin. Of course, I'm not saying that. No, but so you are obsessed by that idea. In spiritual ways, we can be deprived of sacraments, and people that have been deprived of sacraments for other reasons. We have two ways to see that reaction. The first one will be, okay, so I cannot have received sacraments. I'm upset because of those people who are restraining me from receiving sacraments. I think it's not a good situation, because it's a negative answer. The positive answer will be, okay, I tolerate that situation because, first of all, I have no other choice. I'm not going to break in the church to receive the communion. I'm not going to break in the church to attend Mass. I have no other choice. I tolerate. Tolerance, maybe people, they lost the meaning of tolerance because nowadays we use that word improperly. Tolerance means I, in the position that I am, accept something that is against what I believe, what I am, my taste, for a better reason. Okay, so if we live as you live in a family, so different maybe family members have different taste, and you know, so Fridays, for instance, I know that some of you they eat soup at night for dinner because they try to do some penance. And some members of your family, they don't like soup. They don't want to have that soup, so they tolerate it. Do they have a choice? No, because they are children. They have no choice. But they take a little bit, you know, they take a little bit of this soup, and so they still participate to it. They tolerate that. They're not craving for it, and they pray that Lent will end, and they can enjoy a full meal again. Okay. So this is what truly means tolerance. We are living in a country, for instance, where abortion is open, free, and so it's happening every single day. It's against what we believe, but we tolerate it for a better good. And so we try to help people who are in need. We try to help these mothers who have been in this crisis situation themselves, that they cannot face pregnancy properly. We help them, even teenagers who got pregnant. So, but we tolerate the state imposing to us certain laws. Like right now, we are all shelter in place, contained at home. We can barely move. We can go to the grocery store. That's pretty much it. Do we like it? No. For some people, it's um, more it's heavier than for others. For me, for instance, it's not big because as priest, we live pretty much contained within the boundary of the church. So this is what we do: office, church, room. This is what pretty much we do every day. But for those of you who are working, they need activity. For we have family and children, they need to go out. They need to do activities that they can't right now. And so also for your enjoyment, you like from time to time to go to a restaurant to support also all of these workers that have lost their job at the current moment. But spiritually, we can, if we accept it and tolerate it as it is, we can. It's going to be beneficial for us, because remember that God is above everything. God is God, and God has always taken the good from even worse situations. And the good thing is, we are lacking. All of us, we are lacking something. When I say Mass, I am alone. So it's not supposed to be. You're not supposed to say Mass alone. You want to have Mass because the priest is acting in persona Christi Capitis. He's acting as Christ. But the priest cannot be the victim and the church in the same time. He needs the church. That's why he has attendance at his Mass. That is very important. Also, we are suffering because we're going to have a Holy Week empty. No one is going to be in attendance. Virtually, yes, you may be able to see it from your desk, your living room, but not from your pews. This morning, we practice with the 3 choir members who are going to come. We are limited in personnel, so we want to have 3 of them, because 2 is difficult, 3 is even difficult, but so it's going to be better than nothing. And then 1 or 2 or less, and 3 servers, because Holy Week is pretty heavy. Even 3 is going to be very short, but so it means these boys who are going to serve, they are going to be multitask. They're going to do the job of 2 other boys. But we want to limit that because we don't want to go over the limit that is imposed to us. And also for your benefits, they're going to have someone who will handle the camera that you can follow with you. So it is. So we practiced for about something like 2 hours and a half. We went through the entire week because we don't want to multiply, travels and also we are all contained in some ways. So it is great that we participate to that, and so this is also for them the occasion to represent you, because they are going, of course, to be close to God. I mean, in the real presence. Maybe they will receive Holy Communion if they wish, but they will be free to do so. And you won't. But it's an occasion to enter in this Holy Week in a very different way. And I think it may be for some of you or all of you the peak of their Lent. For the first time in your life, since your first Holy Communion, maybe, that would be the only Sunday, Easter Sunday, that you won't receive Holy Communion. You're suffering from that. We are suffering from that. But like I said earlier, once we are deprived from something, we feel the lack. We are missing that. Something, if I want to take an analogy, when a couple, one of them has to travel. The man has to travel because he's a businessman, so he's gone for or a military, or he does some profession that needs from him to be far away from home. If he's happy to leave, that's maybe a problem. But if he's very sad because he's going to lack his family, his wife, his children, and then the time that he's away, he's going to think about them outside of his work, because when he's working, he's busy. But when he is alone in his hotel room, maybe he's alone. He can give a call, but that's difficult. That's the way it should be. That's the way it is. And that's the way it should be also with God. Yes, I want to be close to God. I want to be close to Him. But the good thing is that a wife and children can't do, but God can, is always on our side. It is not because I do not have access to the real presence of our Lord Jesus Christ in the tabernacle that God is not there. He did not close the doors. He is there. And I will say that He is even closer today. Even myself, of course, I am a priest. So like I enjoy to say, I am Mass. Wherever I go, Mass is with me. The thing is that even myself, I take some benefits from this time. I feel sadness in some ways, and in other ways, I feel that God is closer. He takes care of us. He takes care of all of us because we pray more, because we are actually doing something that we don't do usually. And I think this is a great opportunity, because maybe we're going to appreciate more what we have. Because, when it's a routine, we go to Mass on Sundays, we receive Holy Communions, we receive sacraments, everything is available. And we are also victims of our times. Consumerism. I denounce that oftentimes in my homilies, as you know. And consumerism is everything that is accessible to me. And now, immediately, I want it now. That is not a good attitude, actually. Before, and I like to observe things, and this is what I say. I share that with people who come to catechism. Sometimes I look at things, if I want to eat, I go to a grocery store, I pick up my vegetables, and I cook with them. But how this happened, let's take zucchinis, all sitting there, because it came from a field, a plant. Someone nurtured that plant, harvested that plant. Someone picked it, cleaned it, shipped it, that I received. This is the human aspect of it. But what about God aspect? Once, as a few weeks ago, with the weather and everything, I've seen worms coming out of the ground. And I looked at them. I spent a few seconds to look at them. And I was thinking, this is God's creature. God made that. And so when I see all of these insects, maybe you are the same, I try to think, what is the use of that insect? Why God created that insect? there is a use, of course. There is a use for everything. And so warmth is very easy. And we have lost that because we're not grounded. Grounded in the sense that we don't understand now how these farmers are working because it's accessible in a grocery store. And we rarely spend time in a farm. My grandparents were farmers, and I visited some farms. I have even friends who are farmers in France, and even in the US actually. And I know how they work hard, hard, every single day, spend time. But we see that without God's work, they cannot produce anything. This worm, this ridiculous insect that is not really beautiful in itself. It's beautiful because it's a creature of God, but not beautiful to the aspect, is making the ground breathing, to bring some air that this plant can grow up. So this is God's aspect of things. And in this time of crisis, I want to look into God's aspect. Of course, the thing is, the knowledge of God that we have is very weak. And sometimes we complain about our times, but God is living in present time. What happened for us 2,000 years ago, what will happen in 2,000 ahead of us, is one moment for God. God is living in present. God is. I should stop there. And for Him, this is one. I cannot say one instant because this is present, and for it all eternity. And the presence of God that we feel for very different ways is in fact an invitation from Him to live in His time. That's, the most radical way to see at it is monks. Monks are these people who entered in a monastery, a cloistered monastery. It means there are walls, they are contained for life. But voluntarily, they decided to be content because they want to know God. They want to feel that relationship to God. They want to live in His presence. And some people, they look at their lives and say, this is very repetitive. Every single day. They don't have vacations. 365 days a year, they have the same schedule. Is it a routine? No, it is not a routine. I go there to do my retreat, and I like this time because everything is at peace, quiet, and you feel the presence of God because, in fact, there is no other way to be closer to Him because you are sharing His time. And His time is continuous. God is. We enter in His presence. That's why we need this repetitive time to repeat everything the same and to experience it more over and over and over up to the point that we are in His time. Right now, we have this occasion to enter in His time because we are alone ourselves. We do something maybe that is routine, that we are not stopping our time. We still have activities to do, but we keep it. We keep it. And usually when we are in trouble, God is close to us. I'm pretty sure you know that story. If you look at a student who are taking a test, it's difficult. If he jumps in it without working, what's going to happen? It's going to fail. But if he jumps in it with all of the knowledge, his work that he put to get ready for that day, everything is going to be easy. Why? Because the knowledge is here. He integrated, he possessed that knowledge. Same thing with God. I am close to God. I pray. I talk to Him. There is a relationship between us. By the time I am tested, I'm going to feel alone. In struggles and trials, I feel alone. Because all of the knowledge He gave me, it is for my benefits. That when I will be in struggle, I will use that to bring peace to me, to remain calm because I know that He is closer to me. In the same way, when I do a test, the teacher is still there. And by looking at the teacher, I may remember things that that teacher said. Or if it's not my teacher, I will remember this is a teacher, so and then things will come back. Because we possess that knowledge. And that knowledge of God, we should possess it. Now this is the time. You have time. You're going to enter in Holy Week. We have many, many books. So I don't know if you know that books, for instance, that was given to me by one of you, actually. And it's a very good book because this is the Holy Week, the complete offices in Latin and English by Fernand Cabral, Abbot of St. Michael's, Farnborough, England. And he lived in the second half of the 19th century. And so everything is put in there with few commentaries. This is a book we should have, and this is a book we should read and to take benefits of all of this. Now, so I spent a few times to encourage you and to bring some peace for those of you who are worried, because I received some questions. People are worried about sacraments and everything. So, first of all, Church did not ban you from any sacrament. You have to understand that. So, Church is still doing what Church does, to pray, offer Mass. Nothing changed. The only thing that changed is you cannot attend it. So it's difficult, but that's the reality. Now, some of you are asking me about confession. This morning I heard confession. Last week I heard confession. I hear confession on demand because there is no time set up for it. But so I'm available, and priests are available, especially in this diocese. If you want, you just call the rectory wherever you are, and you said you'd like to go to confession, and the priest will give you time. Excuse me. I don't see any priest who will ban anyone who refuses to hear confession. You have a right to confess your sins, and the priest has a duty to hear your confession. Like I said before, there is no priest who refuses to hear confession unless you ask in not reasonable time. So people sometimes they come 2 minutes before Mass and can you hear my confession? I'm sorry, but I'm about to start Mass, so there's no way that I can. I'm getting vested. So now you can go to confession. Now the other question that was asked is about last rite. Okay, so yesterday actually someone called me about that and saying that last rite is essential. Essential to what? To your salvation? It is not essential to your salvation. It is not because you're not going to receive last rite that you will be banned from heaven. This is not true. How many people are in heaven who never received last rite? Well, that question is, so there is no bishop in the US, or maybe there are, but we're not living in a diocese where it is banned, so we are. And actually, the bishop encourages priests to continue to give last rite, and this is what we continue to do so. The problem is with hospitals. Hospitals, they can ban you from entering into it because state regulate that. I know that here, for instance, in Alistair, they said that you cannot come in anymore. So, okay, so we're talking about priests who are coming from outside. If there is a Catholic hospital close to you, there is obviously a chaplain attached to it. The chaplain is still working more than ever. And I know in this country there are many Catholic hospitals where priests are ministering at the present moment. So that if you are sick and you are not in that position to be in a Catholic hospital, that may be difficult. It depends on the hospital administration to have access or not. Here we don't have access. Then confession, I said, so it is obviously a possibility, and you will be able to go to confession. Also, we evaluate. So someone said, well, a confession is essential to me. Yes, it is in some ways, but it is not in other ways. It is not essential for salvation, as long as I am not in mortal sin. Maybe this is a time that people are going to watch their lives better and try to make sure that they don't commit a mortal sin, because it's rare when you see a priest. But also, if unfortunately that happens, we have a perfect contrition to do. So we have the desire to go to the sacrament, but the sacrament is not accessible, for instance. Then you do an act of contrition, perfect contrition, in which you firmly resolve yourself to go to confession as soon as possible, and you ask forgiveness for your sin, your mortal sins, from God, and God is going to forgive you, because you promised that once available, you will go to confession. So that the questions that are received for sacrament. But so once again, if you are in need to go to confession, call your priest, make an appointment, go there, and that's it. You will be able to receive that sacrament. I see once someone wrote, God made natural laws. Of course, God made everything that we have, that we enjoy. So that's a way to look at it also in this crisis. Because what is a virus? A virus it's something that was created, something that exists, so something that there is a need for it. The problem is, as we do not take care of ourselves, I don't want to enter into a green vision or something like that, but so there is some reality that we need to face. Human, they have a tendency to grasp natural wealth, and like forest. So they attack some wide land that exists, where viruses are, to maintain harmony, to balance species. Okay, and they were made only for that harmony, for instance. And because we entered into that environment, we released that virus. And viruses who were for animals, for instance, then as we did not act properly with these animals, so then they got contaminated and they mutate, and so they got transmitted to us. Also, yes, God made natural laws. It means everything that is made has been made by God. God is a master of everything. So maybe God also released, or let that virus live outside of his natural host. He let that virus spread out, live its life for something, for a reason. Obviously, none of us can say that we have been very faithful to God's laws or to God, period. You know, like I said often, so I am amazed about the patience of God. How many people are faithful to God nowadays on this planet? There are a lot of people. How many Catholics, and especially inside the Holy Catholic Church, are living truly according to uh, God's laws? I'm not accusing anyone, but I'm observing. I observe that people, they accommodate, they mitigate the laws, they mitigate everything. It's not a big deal. I'll see that later. Even us, I'm young, so not in danger of death. I postpone, I procrastinate my spiritual life. I play games with it. And that is also an opportunity for us to be in that position that I need to reflect. I need to understand what is happening. Yes, God made natural laws, God made everything. And for some reason, God let that virus live its life. There is nothing that we can argue against, because if God allowed that, it is for some good. We have seen in the Old Testament that when God wants to people to notice Him, then He provokes something. Nowadays, of course, we have Jesus Christ, we have a mediator. That's why we are in a better shape. If we didn't have Him, could you imagine the disaster in which we were facing? We'll be facing. But so in this crisis, I'm not going to judge this crisis, but so we will make, at the end of it, we will see the result. We will see what the consequences are. Of course, there are consequences for people who are losing their jobs because the economy stopped. But on the health area, uh, the numbers they give us, everything they talk about it, so they overreact, because nowadays there's nothing you cannot be. Unless you live on a lost island, there's no way you can ignore this situation. So constantly they talk about it. And they frighten people. They frighten them. That's why you have a rush in grocery stores. That's why you have fear everywhere. If we fear, it means we don't have any hope. If we don't fear, it means we have confidence in something. So some people, they have confidence maybe in their uh, you know, something survival cave they made with groceries, cans for 10 years. Some people, they do such things. They have confidence in that. I don't have confidence in this kind of thing. I don't have a survival cave. I don't have even a survival kit or thing like that. Um, but what I have is hope. I hope in God. God is providing for me. And I know that whatever is going to happen for me, God will give me the opportunity to be closer to Him, to be with Him. And so that I think this is very important. For me, this is bringing me peace. That's why I don't fear. That's why I'm pretty much at peace. And that's the way we should all act, as a matter of fact. So I don't see any questions coming up, on this side. We have chat. If you have any questions, I'm willing to answer these questions. So we are now in contact with Facebook and YouTube. So there's no questions on Facebook. There is no questions on um, YouTube. So if you have a question, you can ask, and then I will answer. I would like to also thank all of you who, especially the people in Hollister, who have sent their contribution to the church on behalf of Father Akers, who noticed that some of you send money because, of course, we're not taking any connections these days, but the needs are still the same. We shut down the heat in the church, so it's pretty cold when I say mass in the morning, but that's bearable. From France, I'm coming from France, and in France there is no heat in the churches. So because the church was built in the 14th century, 15th century, there were no heaters at the time. Nowadays they are fake things. So that's something that is very important. So I just see questions that popping up. So one question is how does one best pray along the mass at home? So maybe that question did not receive the email I sent. So first of all, we should not change our habits. Okay, especially if you have children. What you should do is wherever you watch TV, watch mass. First of all, you dress as you were going to mass, and I know some of you. Gregory, I know that he's watching us, so he sent me a picture of him, well dressed, tie, suit, perfectly dressed before mass. And that's the way it should be. We dress, we put a tie, exactly the way that we are going to be at mass. Then we do exactly the same thing that we are doing at mass. We sit, we stand, we kneel down, we pray. Because when I pray mass, when I say mass, at the moment of oratory, when you see memento, the priest does that, and then he recollects himself. What is he doing there? He is offering for the mass the intention of that mass, and then he's praying for all of you. So I give you a little secret. It's not a secret, but I'm pretty sure that 99% of priests are doing that. So when they're at this moment, they pray for all of the people who are behind them, all the people who are in that church. Nowadays, there is no one in church, so I pray for all of these people who are watching Mass. So all of you who are following Mass every single day. And it's very important. So then, you unite your prayers with mine, and then God is there. God is taking them. So first, that's the thing. Practically, so that's the practical thing. That's all. You dress up, you sit when you have to sit, you stand when you have to stand, you kneel down when you have to kneel down. You follow Mass in your missal. If you don't have a missal, because maybe you should look online to find a missal and to follow Mass. Now, online you have everything, so even on your phones, you will find a way to follow. And you follow along with the priest. This is what I encourage you, especially during the canon. The canon is silent. Read it. Of course, if you read it, you're going to read it in English, which is longer than Latin. So don't get offended or upset because the priest is faster than you. The priest, first of all, is saying Mass. He's not. So it means he talks to God. It's a conversation with God. So, but you should do that. And so oftentimes, and I even say it, often, that we should read Mass as we want. Now I am alone as a priest, but whenever I was living with another priest, I will say my Mass, and I will attend another Mass, because it's important for priests to attend Mass too. And I will attend Mass and follow Mass along with the priest who is saying Mass. There's a question that came: should we always read the Bible with commentary, even if we have only 5 minutes? Yes. First of all, when you buy a Bible, you have to make sure that it's a Catholic Bible. versions of the Bible exist pretty much as much denominations we have in the US. Uh, so some they accept some, but so how many versions do we have? I would say that in English there are maybe 30 versions of. When I say version, is translation. It's translation. Okay, so version means translation of the Bible. So yes, it has to have on the Catholic Bible an imprimatur. So I have my Bible here. Okay, this is somewhere. See it? Yes, it's here. Okay. It's not the Bible; it's a New Testament. So it's written here. It has been approved by a bishop. So here, of course, it's in French. It has been approved by Rome and authorized by the Archbishop of Paris. Okay, and then when you open the Bible, okay, you see in the bottom here you have commentaries, and so explanations. Even at the end, you have little explanations too. Okay. Um, why it is important? Because we Catholic do not interpret the Bible ourselves. The Bible is the Word of God. That word was given to the Holy Catholic Church. And the Holy Catholic Church is the only one to interpret it. In the Holy Catholic Church, we have two parts. The teaching part and the one that is taught. The teachers in the Holy Catholic Church are popes, the Pope, and the bishops. It means me, I am not a teacher, I am a receiver of that teaching. Priest, when he arrives in diocese, he receives faculties to do confessions, say mass, of course. No, not say mass, I'm sorry, that's a mistake, because a priest, once he's ordained and good standing, can say mass without requesting faculties. So he has the to hear confessions, yes, and to preach, because the bishop is a master of preaching. He is the one who can say, Father, I don't want you to preach anymore. He is the teacher. And so the job of a priest is to make sure that his teaching is according to the church. That's why we, the day before ordination or the day of ordination, we make a promise to preach what the church is teaching. And so that's why in the Bible, we do not interpret the Bible ourselves. That's why we have commentaries. That commentary is very important. Okay, and so that's why people before reading the Bible, I would advise first to study the Holy History. We have many books, books that are very good with illustrations. It starts from kids. I've seen that for children. The history. So who was Abraham? Who is Isaac? All of this history, holy history. And that gives you a sense of the history. It's like in this country, for instance, are you going to read the Constitution of the US like this? No. You're going to miss a lot of things. You're going to miss why they wrote that Constitution. That's why you need to go back to these people who were living in the 13 colonies and decided to get independence from England. And why? So you need an historical background before understanding why what they wrote. This is better. Okay, so this is what we do. So that's why we should study the history of our country and other countries to understand what is going on. So in the Bible, this is something we should also watch. These for kids, I mean, illustrations, and for adults, there are history of the Bible. Okay? So then, the Gospel, you can read, of course, the Gospel, for sure, or read commentaries, like to read the life of Christ. There are a few life of Christ that have been written, and so these people they made a tremendous work, reading, penetrating, and looking at traditions, the fathers of the church, and they make a book out of it, which explains the life of Christ. It's like a biography, if you will. So that the scripture is difficult. So, for instance, a priest in seminary, you spend 3 years to study scripture. When you are in, okay, so I want to explain that long, but so you have 6 years of seminary. 1 year is a spiritual year. It means, okay, we bring people to a level that they should have been before entering, because unfortunately, today no one is able to get a great catechism everywhere, so we bring people to a certain level of catechism that is the level that every single adult should have. And also they receive holy history, like I said. Then they enter into philosophy, so they spend 2 years to study philosophy, and then they have 3 years of theology. But they don't do theology like 25 hours a week for 3 years. Okay, it's cut. Okay, so you have they study dogma. Okay, dogma. So they study. They spend 6 months on God, one, and God, the Holy Trinity. Then they're going to spend another 6 months on, so a year, so God, say, God 1, God 3. Then they're going to, basically it's based on the Summa. So God, His creation, yes, so the creation, they will spend 6 months on the creation. Then they spend a second year on the life of Christ and the moral theology, okay? And then the sacraments, okay, in general, and sacrament in particular, the 7 of them. Beside that, they study the Bible for 3 years. After they go from the first book to the last book. So, okay, so questions are arriving not through text, which is not, that's why you heard that sound. But, they spend 3 years, okay? And also, there is something that you can for sure read and pray that I encourage you is the Psalms. Okay? So the 150 Psalms. This is what the church says every day. This is what also you have at Mass. Mass is based on the Psalms. So this is important to read them and to understand them. So if you can find, first you can find a commentary of the Psalms. When I was in Rome studying, we were living on the territory of a parish, and the pastor of that parish, Monsignor, who was a teacher in the Biblical. And so he gave us interpretation of the Psalms, and that was wow. That was amazing. So I never, even by studying the Psalms, I never had such commentaries. So it was a blessing for us to receive that. So yes, this is. So I'm going to take this question. Okay, so that was not. It's a question of fast. Okay, how can we fast? So abstinence, of course. I will encourage everybody to do a week of abstinence. I mean, no meat during 1 week. You're not going to die, believe me. But it's good to do such penance. You can replace it by something like fish. If you don't like fish, you can use legumes. We're going to give you protein. But so yeah, I think this is something that we can do, especially this week. Abstain from meat and abstain from other things that we enjoy usually, and you may be able to enjoy them again Saturday evening, Sunday morning for Easter. All right, so I don't see any other questions coming up. We have been. I have been talking for 55 minutes. You have been watching, not all, because I've seen that people they come, they leave, so there is a fluctuation there. So if there are no questions, I would like to encourage you to pray, to remain united, of course, to attend. And by attendance, I mean virtually to attend this Holy Week. I think, also for the people in Pismo Beach, for instance, that they don't have the occasion to see Holy Week often. I don't know when was the last time they went to Holy Week, but it has been a long time, I assume, And so we do the old liturgy. So it has been granted by Rome, by the CTF, that we can use a pre-55 Holy Week. And it's a blessing because you can see this ancient Holy Week. And so like I said before, so these ceremonies are very special and unique, so you may be able to, I may change at the time of Good Friday because some people may be late because at 3 p.m. can be a little short, so but you will be noticed by this social media or by email. But so it's very important, first of all, to watch it, because you're going to take some grace, of course, from that. You're going to receive, you're going to be close to God at some point. Even if through a screen, but nothing is impossible for God, remember that. And encourage you also to pray personally. The best prayers are the prayers that when you close the door and you're alone in front of God, this is the best time. And also act as usual. If you have a little garden, hide some eggs for your children Sunday. And so remember that if you need to go to confession, you call me. There is no confession through social media. There's no confession through a phone. There's nothing like that possible. Okay? So the reason is because you need to be present when you receive a sacrament. Okay? There is no sacrament given through space. That does not exist. You need to see the mediator of the sacrament, and the priest needs to see the penitent or the one who's going to receive sacraments. So that's very important. But so if you're not, I'm thinking about people who are not living close by, they can call their priest, call the priest around the parish, and you will see when it's available. Then we will see whenever it's possible. So as for now, the priest of St. Paul's offering confession this week. I'm not in St. Paul, so there is Pismo Beach, I mean. So I don't know, but I'm sure. Okay, so I'm sure that they will offer you, if you call them, they are going to offer you some options, of course. So the only thing that they say, so we keep social distance 6 feet. So okay, so it's not important. Okay, so the most important thing is you want to go to confession, you go to confession. That's it. So call your priest. If you're not around me, for instance, if you live in Pismo Beach, call St. Paul. call the priest, and they will give you an option. Remember, so we are united together. I see that every day when I see Mass, I see that people are watching Mass. So they are there, and so it's very important that we keep doing that. That's why I wanted to live stream Mass every day. I could go like all the parishes once a week, but I think this is important because to some extent it's better than nothing for sure, and for some it's even better than what they had before, because before they had nothing. So this is very important. And so after that, of course, I don't know when this is going to be over, but now we are in a short-term place up to May 3rd, but we can guess that it's going to be extended. How can we know that? They closed every school, so classes will resume at the end of August, like the next year, academic year. So it means they have maybe a better knowledge than we do, or maybe they said, okay, well, we're going to go for school for 1 week. So no, I was supposed to get my big exam June 3rd in France, but I'm not going to be able. I wrote my thesis. It's written. Everything is. Maybe I will do like today a live stream defense of my thesis. But so the most important work has been done. So this thesis is written, and so that's the most important thing. So yes, everybody has something. Pray. I encourage you to pray and to do even more penance. Pray more, because whenever, like I said earlier, whenever we are in trouble, God is closer to us. It means also that He can listen. And like I wrote, God's voice is louder now, because when we hear this disaster and all of these things that are happening, it means God's voice is louder than usual. He is expecting something from us. If it's not us, Catholic, doing the best, we are on His side. And we are on His side also for the people who are not. So that's why we need to pray. We need to pray for, of course, all the people that suffer, not only from this virus, but all of the people that are suffering. All of the people who are suffering from consequences from that crisis. And we need also to show what we can do to the world. And people, they must convert to God. They must come back to God. God is waiting for them too. He's waiting for us, but He's waiting for us, for them, for us. I mean, for us to be apostles. If we are disciples of Christ, we need to be also apostles of Christ, and to spread the good word. So I thank you for your patience. It's been over an hour. We're going to end this session now. Of course, I am available. I know that some people, they send me emails. I receive emails. I receive even mail. I receive also text. I receive messages. So I'm still available, and so we will see what we can do. I'm thinking also about things in the future. What can we do for the sacraments for these little children that are ready? Some are not ready, but some are ready. So just to have a conference call, as they say nowadays, for those children who are ready to receive First Holy Communion, for instance. I wish you a great Holy Week. Blessings. Take time, so I heard also and I read things that from friends and from social media, and so people, they enjoy this time together, quality time with their family, fathers with their children, husbands with their wives, which has not been very difficult, not been very, has been difficult, when you are working, but so now you have more time. So I wish you the best, and after all of this, we will drink to that and celebrate all of the feast in missing altogether. So I give you my blessing through this measure to protect all of us and to beg God to free us from this disease. Hail Maria, full of grace, Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Benedictus omnipotenti Patris, et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, descende super vos et semper. Amen. God bless you and see you soon.